Well, guys, sorry about that. Apparently, we weren't supposed to use that clip, and we got a little bit of a notification by YouTube, and they shut the power off on us. It wasn't us that did it. They shut the stream down, unfortunately. So I'll explain this in a second because we're still getting people coming back onto the stream now as we come on. The movie itself was, as I said, that particular film, Lord of the Rings, is very, very recognizable for different things. You actually get to care about even you get to care about the orcs because of who they are and how they behave, and there is a structure, and you realize they're not all just mindless morons running around trying to how can I put it, destroy the world, but they are, they have a structure. So you kind of care for their structure and care for what they do. In Rings of Power, the difference is they tend to have a structure, but the structure's not as quite defined yet. There's one main bad guy, and he looks very human in a sense, and doesn't scare me quite as much as some of these others did. I mean, a lot of them were very. There was something about either the makeup or the way it was set, but now they're trying to humanize him, I think, and to me, it just didn't work as much. What he does possibly will affect it. What happened in this last scene in Lord of the Rings was that they took the dismembered body of the orc that they just killed and ate him, which then makes you go, oh my god, it's kind of like, oh, and it makes you feel something because they're literally, even though this thing is a decrepit piece of flesh, it's still being eaten alive by its other, cannibalized actually by its other brethren, and so it makes you kind of really sort of get into what that world is. Whereas in Rings of Power, I haven't quite gotten there yet as the ferocity of the orcs. It just seems to be a very, okay, I'll just kill you and that's it, and there's something either in the way it's filmed or the way it's portrayed that hasn't quite come across yet as to being as impactful as I think the things in Lord of the Rings have been able to do. So I think that's part of the reason why you have different camps, and I've heard that many people in the Lord of the Rings camp are not really that impressed with Rings of Power. I've heard people say that I've seen a couple of episodes and I don't really want to see any more. I think that's also, we're possibly going to take a look next week. Again, we're going to have to look at what the rights to certain clips are. We're going to look at the one of my favourite series, Game of Thrones, compared to the House of Dragons. Where my wife said, well, anything with dragons, I'll watch it, but I don't think that's the same for everybody. I think there is a connection to the franchise or the idea of that, and to revamp it or to change it or to bring a prequel to it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. One of the things they did with Highlander was they asked, should we extend this further? Should we make it Highlander the Raven? Concept was okay, but to a degree you're now changing the characters to a degree, because obviously you had Amanda, Elizabeth Grayson, but then you also had a lot of other people that were not familiar to the audience, and that all the situations etc were likened to what Highlander the series was, and somehow, some way, it didn't translate for people because it didn't go down as well. And that, I think, is a problem for the creators, because they've got to make it, they're trying to make money off it, let's be honest. I mean, they're trying to extend a series and create a franchise that continues. The Raven was a great idea, but I just don't think that you had so many more stories that could be told from that point of view. Now, don't get me wrong, Amanda was an amazing character. Amazing character. I actually... We're just finishing off the first season of the Highlander Memories, and I was watching the other day the Lady and the Tiger episode, and there's just something really interesting happening on screen with Amanda and Duncan, and Amanda and Tessa, and Tessa and Duncan, and Richie's in the middle bouncing off of all three of them. And it worked because that triangle, this pairing suddenly became a triangle, because now how jealous was she? Was there some sort of camaraderie? Was there any love there? There's a lot of stuff going on in that particular episode. And when Amanda came in, the way she played it and the way that the script read, it was tongue in cheek, but it was also very like, whoa, and that was fun, and you wanted to see this different character, because McLeod had never really been tempted before until Amanda turned up. He's, and he actually says it in that episode. She goes, when Tessa finally realizes she's an immortal for the first time, when she's up on the tightrope walk, and he's looking at her, she goes, "Is he a friend of yours?" And he goes, "No, just a bad habit." And I thought, that's perfect. That's a perfect statement, because that's exactly what she was a habit he couldn't get rid of, because part of him wanted that adventure. Part of him wanted to be naughty, whether it was not in the sense that he wanted another woman, but naughty to do things he wouldn't necessarily do, like help her steal something, help her get away with something, help her, even though, because he liked her, to do certain things he wouldn't necessarily do himself. And so, that to me was an interesting episode, and that character was great through the series. But then to lend an entire series on it with stories that were similar to what they were on Highlander, I'm not so sure translated to the audience. So I think that's what happens when you have a series and a film, how they're able to not necessarily work. I'm going to answer another one of your questions, since we took some time off of that, unfortunately. Somebody said Highlander series turns 30 on Monday. Yes, I'm well aware of that. But remember, the Highlander series does not turn 30. It turns, the beginning of Highlander the series turns 30, and I am already discussing the possibility of next year around this time having a online session that perhaps might include a lot of the people that were included in the first season, to get their thoughts on the first season and make it a mini convention of some sort, and then do the celebration. So to me, the celebration is, yes, it was that amount of time, and it did air that long ago. Although for me, it started 3 months prior to September. 4 actually, it was the beginning of June. I think I started filming June, July, and so we were all, waiting with biting our nails, going, "Is it going to work?" I thought it was going to work, but then obviously the press at first weren't that complimentary. I got something, I think it was in People magazine. They actually said, it's all stereotypical. Agent Paul's playing the stereotypical stuff on there, and sometimes when you look at the good reviews, you've also got to look at the bad ones, and to a degree, I guess they were probably right in certain things, but sometimes it's also the material that you're given, and that's what happened after that. Eventually, as it started gaining momentum and started gaining, and the stories changed, and they became more they had more meat on them, I was able to say more about how to change the character, how to what I wanted in that show to show from Duncan MacLeod. So I think that's very important to understand, that a series grows. That's why, like Rings of Power, I hear like episode 6 is supposed to be a game changer, and we'll see. But sometimes it takes a series a little bit of time. But when you've spent that much money on a series, you really don't want to screw up, because everything is riding on it. Everybody's job is riding on it. So we'll see how that goes. All right, another question now. Somebody says, how do I feel about fans approaching and saying hi? I'm perfectly fine with it. I have no problem with that at all, as long as you're respectful. Sometimes I see things on feeds where people say things that are mean or narrow-minded or just plain backward. And, I think those things are never appreciated by anybody, and there's no point in saying them. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. Everybody has a different opinion, which I appreciate, but, to tell somebody, Some people come up. I've had people come up to me and go, "Yeah, yeah. You know what? I kind of like Conor McLeod better than you." Okay, what do you want me to say about that? What was the point of you giving me that opinion? What did it achieve? Just achieved was it supposed to make me feel better? I'm not sure how that makes me feel better. Does that make you feel better? So that's what I'm talking about. If you've got something to say or you've had something intelligent to discuss, I'm quite willing to discuss it. I had somebody at one point come up to me at one of the conventions, and he said, I saw that episode you did about, the slavery and the blacks and that, and it wasn't true. And I said, sorry, what? He said, it wasn't true. It didn't happen. And I said, well, actually, the history books show you that there was slavery. Yeah. But, the blacks made the slavery. And he's talking like this. And I was like, wow. And I said, yes, but, and then he kept on. And I was like, okay, you're right. And there's nothing I could say to continue that. But I would try to do that. But because when I'm working, I don't necessarily want to get into really deep conversations like that, because sometimes they're not going to go anywhere. And I think that's kind of an issue. Let's put it like that. Somebody asked me, do I have any thoughts on the evolution of the styles used in the Zorro movies and TV shows? Now, obviously, Bob Anderson was one of the persons that was involved in the sword work of the styles in one of the, I think it was the, which one did he do? I think it was a Mask of Zorro he did. He did the series. But the evolution has to evolve. I mean, think about it. 50 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, we didn't have internet. We didn't have TikTok and Facebook and everything else. Therefore, what you're expected to see or what you expect to receive as entertainment differs. The masks that Zorro had evolved into something a little bit different. Same as the clothes we wore 60 years ago, not the clothes we wear today. Well, maybe not, but anyway, they're not. They're just not the same. So those styles have to evolve, and I think Zorro was something I used to love as a kid. I used to love Zorro as a kid, and to me, it was just like the passing of the baton, or the baton, should I say, that it went on to. It went on to something different, and I think that's really it's not detrimental to it. I think it worked, and I think it had a new audience. Much like many of the films, you have the Three Musketeers. It went to a different audience. I have highlighted the Three Musketeers in Film Fight Insights, and looking at it, you kind of see the evolution and the ones that worked, the ones that didn't work. Some of the older ones are actually better. So sometimes, again, people are used to that. Therefore, they say, well, that was a better movie because I like that one better because I like those characters. But it might be the story was better. It explained it better. So I don't know what that is. But sometimes I think you have to understand that there is evolution. There is those of you that have kids, those of you that grew up with Highlander, are now older, and there is a new generation coming through expecting to see a different thing. Kids are on iPhones and different laptops, etc. Now their content is different, therefore they expect to see different things. So, I'm okay with it. All right. Somebody asked, are there any US retreats planned for 2023? Not yet, but there might be. And there'll be two days, and I will probably expect them to be later in the year. We're trying to get. We would like to get about 4 or 5 months ahead. On our events. We're just getting through to, we've just gone December. Obviously December becomes very slow because everybody's doing Christmas parties, so holding an event is difficult because the attendance probably wouldn't work. But we would like to look at January and February soon, perhaps to run some academy events indoors, because a lot of places that we go to sometimes have weather issues. So we might run some of those and then start our other events in March, April, May, etc. next year, depending on what my filming schedule is. And the US retreats, we'd like to look at them. Yeah, I think the last one wasn't bad. I think some of you actually like to spend time in an exotic location more than actually spending time at home. So if you want to go somewhere, you might say, you know what, I'd like to go to Mexico. I'd like to go to Hawaii. Actually, was going to do one in Hawaii. And let me grab a drink. So I think that, I think that would be something that I would look at, would be Hawaii, but it would be if US, that's still US, right? But it's a long flight. So I'd be interested to see how many of you would actually be interested in doing a Hawaii retreat. Another question I got was, if I could host a sword experience anywhere in the world, where would it be? Bali. Why Bali? Because the scenery's so different. Or Thailand. And I have thought about Thailand, but is it too far for people to go, is my question. Is it so foreign and so far removed that people wouldn't go there? Obviously, in any country you have a following of certain television shows. TV shows in England don't run in America. TV shows in China don't run in America. TV shows in America don't run in the Philippines or somewhere else. Some do and some don't. So to run them there would be harder to do because we wouldn't have the support of the locals. And for a lot of people to travel that distance would be difficult. So our attendance would be very low. And, for us to put it on and spend the time for all the expenses that would have, it would not necessarily be cost effective to run that. Now, I do have an event in Toronto coming up, which I'm really looking forward to. That'll be kind of fun. Gradually our numbers are going up there, although some of you didn't sign up. I was surprised. I thought we were going to get a better turnout so far. We were actually expecting a sellout, but that hasn't happened, and sometimes that does happen. And sometimes I go to events I put up and I think, oh my gosh, I wonder if we'll get anybody, and then it's sold out. So it's an interesting time to look at it. Another question I've had is, has anyone ever gifted me something super strange at a sword experience event? You know what? When people gift you something, it's from the heart. Whether you like it or not has nothing to do with it. And there's always things that I would not necessarily keep or have wanted for myself, but people are giving that. And that, to me, whether it's a pen or a phone or whatever, they're giving it because they feel really connected to giving you something. It's not the article, it's the thing that they're giving you, thinking what you might like. So to me, nothing's strange in a sense, and I think that's important to understand, is that you really it's like at Christmas time, like kids go, oh my god, I got this big present, and then this tiny little thing which is like a cup is more important to them because they like this better than others. But what we do, we give it because we love people. We give it to them because we want to give them something. So sometimes we get hung up on what it is rather than the act of what it is. And I think that's an important thing we need to sort of realise. Now, I know we've had some issues today about the stream, and I'm sorry about that. We'll have to check into that as to what we did wrong, because it was obviously sometimes it's interesting to see we're streaming something which is a 2-minute clip of something that we are looking at and we're trying to give information on, which I think promotes that particular film, because a lot of the times you guys might not have seen some of these films or might not have heard of it, so therefore we're promoting it, and eventually the company makes money because you guys then go and see that movie. So I kind of have an interesting question as to why showing a small amount of that, which we're commenting on and showing you guys to promote things for them, is an issue. But I guess copyright's copyright, and you have to stay away from it. It's become a lot more of an issue these days. So unfortunately, that was the issue we have today. And so next week, we'll look at what format, or next time, we'll look at what format we can do. Hopefully next time I'll have the information about the Christmas items that we have set up. and the site ready to go. We will be changing a few things on the Sword Experience site as well. The shop will change a little bit. The items we deliver. Remember, we do have a lot of the sweatpants left as well, because now it's getting into winter. Everybody was in summer, they didn't need them. Now you might want to think about getting those, because those ones are going to keep your legs warm, and they're actually really cool. They actually really are, really like the stream. I hope you guys like the stream. Did you guys like the stream, or just go like the stream? Say, click on it for me, would you? And so that you like the stream, because that's something that's important to do. Make sure you can you can't share it, unfortunately, because this is an inner circle stream only. There is a small clip that we sometimes put out of the stream that we are able to put out there, and hopefully promote the inner circle, but like the stream so that we can get some numbers up. Anyway, if you do have any questions, if you do have any concerns, please send them to us at contact@swordxp.com, or if you're an Inner Circle member, at innercircle@swordxp.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Sometimes it's a little harder because I tend to go out, and when I get questions from my team as to the things that we're doing, or the questions that we get asked, it may take me a little bit of time to respond to, because we really are trying to get things moving for next year now as well. So again, thank you for being an Inner Circle member. I hope you're enjoying it, and tell your friends, tell your neighbours, tell your worker. And remember, Christmas time, we got a lot of stuff for you to share with your friends and family, or tell your friends and family what you might want to get from the Sword Experience, so you can send them to our site and they can purchase it for you. Anyway, I hope you be well soon. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, I'm Adrian Paul.